Time now for Al's forecast. And Al, we made it to May. It's that time of year when people have got a lot riding on the forecast. What do you have for us this week?
Well, Troy, you are correct. We are into May, and it is crunch time in terms of planting. This is when things really start to hit the road in terms of farmers getting very concerned if we start to continue to see this wet pattern. And unfortunately, this last week brought significant moisture to much of the central and eastern corn belt. Here in Nebraska, depending on where you were, if you were in the northeast, portions of central, north-central Nebraska, northern panhandle, and portions of the southwest and southern panhandle, you may have received between 1 and 2 inches of moisture during this last week. But in a lot of areas south of Interstate 80, particularly southwest, south central, and portions of southeast Nebraska, really did not see significant moisture, less than a quarter of an inch. The only areas in southeast Nebraska that had significant moisture was essentially south and east of a line from Beatrice to Nebraska City, where we'd had some localized heavier precipitation. So as we go through this weekend, we are expecting at least a little bit drier pattern, but things all of a sudden turn to the worst again next week. So I hate to give this forecast, but it does look like wetness is going to be in our store for our future, and we would expect further planting delay issues if this indeed comes to fruition. So as we look at the upper air models for today, we have the upper air low over south central Canada, responsible for the cool press of conditions into the northern plains, and some of that reaching into northern Nebraska. And we also have high pressure system over South Dakota and also over eastern Oklahoma, with low pressure starting to develop in eastern Colorado. Models are trying to develop a little bit of precipitation, particularly this afternoon and this evening, and then that will start to intensify as we go through the overnight hours. We get a conversion of 2 jet streams over the state, might give us just enough lift with the Texas low pressure system at the surface developing, helping to feed a little bit of moisture in this region. Isolated thunderstorms are not out of the question in eastern Nebraska, and that will regress to our east. And we should have a fairly dry day on Monday for the most part, as we start to see low pressure eject out of that trough in the southwest over southwestern portions of Kansas. We'll start to see that moisture increasing probably very late in the afternoon and the overnight hours as the main thunderstorms develop across Kansas. This trough really intensifies on Tuesday, brings a big slug of energy up into our region with low pressure over southwest Kansas and southern Texas, really helping to pump the moisture up into the central plains. So some of the storm development across northern Kansas and eastern Nebraska is likely and spreading toward the east as the day progresses. By Wednesday, that low pressure still is in the upper atmosphere. Trough sticks in the southwest, but we see a piece of energy ejecting out with an associated surface low in southwest Kansas. That's going to give us another round of widespread thunderstorm activity. Most of this centered across the state of Nebraska and South Dakota. And then as we get into the day on Thursday, that low pressure system finally starts to show some movement. It kicks its energy out to the east of us as we see low pressure over central Missouri. It is still going to wrap around some precipitation around it, but it looks like most of this precipitation will move out during the second half of the day. And then Friday, we're left in its wake with just a weak wave moving across our region as high pressure settles in. So at least we get a break from the precipitation as most of it moves off to our east. Now, in regards to the 8 to 10 to 14 day forecast, basically looking for next Tuesday, the following Tuesday, cooler than normal conditions continue as we still deal with the northern jet across the northern plains, lesser laws across to the south of us, and in terms of precipitation, the heaviest moisture basically from the southwest to the southern plains, lesser probabilities for above normal moisture here in eastern Nebraska. Now, I'll be gone next week, so looking at the forecast for the following week, it does look like we get a break from precipitation next weekend, and the models once again show a very active pattern for the following week. So these planting delay issues are likely to continue into the foreseeable future, Troy.